I'm Russell Jaffe for Course Hero, and here are 10 things you probably didn't know about Of Mice and Men. Ready? Let's go! Steinbeck's dog, Max, ate the manuscript of Mice and Men at a time when drafts were written by hand or composed on typewriters. There was no backup, and Steinbeck no doubt suffered considerable frustration. Much of Mice and Men was inspired by John Steinbeck's real-life experiences as a migrant worker, just like his protagonists, George and Lenny. During that time, he met someone who Lenny would be based on. Steinbeck said, "Lenny was a real person. He's in an insane asylum in California right now. I worked alongside him for many weeks. He didn't kill a girl. He killed a ranch foreman." The poet Robert Burns wrote a poem called To a Mouse, which tells the narrator's regret after inadvertently destroying a mouse nest while plowing a field. Steinbeck was intrigued by this and changed the title of his manuscript. The title comes from a verse that reads, "The best laid plans of mice and men often go wrong." In the first decade of the 2000s, Of Mice and Men ranked 5th on the American Library Association's list of most frequently banned or challenged books. Of Mice and Men has been accused of being inappropriate due to vulgar language, sexually explicit content, and unfavorable propaganda. Unfavorable to whom? Steinbeck may have used a typewriter at some point, but the majority of his work was written in pencil, using more than 300 on his novel East of Eden. On his love for pencils, he said, "This is my eccentricity, my pencil trifling." While the opening credit sequence would become a staple of films of the golden age of Hollywood, the 1939 adaptation of Mice and Men was one of the first noted examples of this technique. When Steinbeck's agents received Of Mice and Men in 1936, they expressed displeasure with the book's narrow scope. Steinbeck wrote back to his publishers, "The microcosm is rather difficult to handle, and apparently I did not get it over." Steinbeck lived in a house in Monte Sereno, California. While living there, he wrote Of Mice and Men. He and his first wife, Carol Henning, moved out in 1938, and in 1989, the house was added to the National Register of Historic Places and is still standing today. Following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963, his wife Jackie decided she wanted someone to write a biography of her husband. She thought Steinbeck was the right choice. Steinbeck ultimately decided not to accept her request. Constantly monitored by the FBI for his pro-labor views apparent in his work, Steinbeck wrote a letter to the Attorney General stating, "Do you suppose you could ask Edgar's boys to stop stepping on my heels? They think I'm an enemy alien. It's getting tiresome." FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover was against labor unions and despised Steinbeck's views and kept an extensive file on the author.